There are battlefields where soldiers fight with weapons. And then there are battlefields where silence becomes the deadliest weapon of all. And on that night, inside the mountains, where fog wrapped the ground like a waiting predator and shadows moved like living creatures, 9 seasoned Navy SEALs realized they were no longer the hunters. They were being hunted. Their mission was supposed to be a fast extraction, a clean pullout with encrypted intel from a hidden enemy bunker. Something routine, something that looked like every past extraction they had done, but nothing about that night was ordinary. Comms had begun to fail the moment they crossed the ridge. Night vision glitching, GPS looping, drones falling from the sky like they were swatted by something unseen. The more they pushed forward, the more the air changed. Heavy, suffocating, electric with the quiet warning of danger. And then it happened. Fast, clean, merciless. One sniper shot. A perfect headshot. Their lead scout dropped without a sound, his body folding into the dirt as if gravity claimed him before fear did. The SEAL team immediately took cover, scanning thermals, infrared, everything, but nothing appeared. No movement, no heat signature, no enemy. The commander whispered through clenched teeth, "We're compromised fallback positions." But fallback meant nothing here, because the enemy didn't chase them, the enemy watched them, studied them, waited. In that suffocating silence, one SEAL muttered words no elite operator ever wants to speak: "Send help." And that help came, not from the skies, not from headquarters, not from another team, but from the darkness behind them, a shadow with a heartbeat. She appeared without footsteps, without warning, like the night itself carried her. A woman dressed in matte black tactical gear built for stealth, her sniper rifle, an upgraded CHATAC intervention with custom suppressor and thermal optical hybrid scope, rested in her grip like it was an extension of her bones. The SEALs didn't know whether to aim at her or breathe, because everything about her presence felt controlled, dangerous, and impossibly calm. She didn't ask what happened. She already knew. She simply looked at the commander and said in a tone that wasn't loud, wasn't harsh, but carried full authority, "Take cover. I'll handle it." Before they could question her, she moved, not running, not rushing, just disappearing into the terrain like she was made from shadows. Seconds later, the silent execution began. One suppressed shot echoed through the cold night. An enemy brain splattered against rock. Then another, then another. Each shot perfect, each timing strategic, taking out flankers, spotters, and radio relays before they even understood they were compromised. The SEALs watched her through scope and binoculars, but even with tech assistance, they could barely track her. She wasn't just fast, she was predictive. She knew where enemies would move before they moved. Her breathing never changed. Her posture never tilted. Steady, mechanical, lethal. The ground seemed to coordinate with her. The darkness welcomed her. The wind obeyed her. Someone whispered, "That's no ordinary operator, that's her." Legends had circulated. Secret files without official signatures. A phantom sniper. Codename, Raven. And tonight, the rumors breathed. The enemies panicked, breaking formation, firing wildly into fog, screaming orders, trying to locate a ghost with bullets meant for men. But bullets mean nothing when the target is wind made flesh. Raven relocated after every 1 to 2 shots, climbing rock faces without gloves, crawling tight spaces with weapon stability that ignored gravity. At 800 meters, she was precise. At 1,200 meters, she was flawless. At 2,000 meters, she was impossible. She hit a running target through dense fog with a single clean round, direct eye-socket penetration. No adjustment, no second attempt, just execution. The SEAL commander turned to his men and said what none of them ever thought they'd hear: "Don't move. She's doing the job of an entire unit alone." But the battle wasn't just a battle. It became a message. Raven didn't just kill the enemy. She dismantled their command structure, their morale, their belief that numbers guaranteed survival. One of the enemies attempted to triangulate her using an analog tracking system. But before he could lock signal, she put a round through the small exposed gap of his armor plate, 3.1 kilometers away. No sniper alive made shots like that in field combat. Not repeatedly. Only her. The SEAL medic whispered shakily, "That shouldn't be possible." But the commander corrected him, "It shouldn't." But she makes it possible. Within minutes, bodies lay across the mountainside, lifeless, silent, surrendered to the night. And when the last enemy tried escaping on an ATV, thinking distance meant safety, Raven calmly exhaled, adjusted 3 wind values, accounted for slope drop and rotational drift, then fired. The bullet traveled seconds, then silence, then impact. The enemy fell sideways from the ATV before it crashed into a rock. One woman, one rifle, 25 enemies eliminated without a single wasted round. The SEALs stared, not in fear, but in disbelief, in respect, in silent acknowledgement that they had witnessed not a soldier, but a phenomenon. When she returned to them, her breathing was still steady, eyes sharp, scanning the environment for secondary threats. Only then did the commander speak. "Who do you work for?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she checked ammo, dusted her weapon, and looked at the horizon like she wasn't finished. Then she finally replied, calm and cold, "I work for the ones who can't call for help." And with those words hanging in the cold night, she began moving again, not waiting for approval, not expecting applause, because warriors like her didn't fight for credit, rank, or medals. They fought because someone had to, and most of the world didn't even know danger existed until people like her eliminated it before sunrise. The SEALs packed their gear, still trying to process what they witnessed. One of them, youngest in the team, whispered, "How do you train for something like that? How do you become that?" But deep down, none of them expected an answer, because they already knew no school, no academy, no elite military course created what she was. She wasn't trained into greatness. She survived into it. She moved ahead of them, clearing paths, marking invisible dangers, disabling hidden trip mines with a precision that felt less like technique and more like instinct sharpened by years of being hunted. Eventually, the SEALs caught up to her at a cliff overlooking the valley, fog rolling like ocean waves below. The moonlight barely touched her face, but her eyes, the only thing visible beneath her hood, held something ancient, cold, tired, yet unbroken. She scanned the darkness and spoke without turning toward them. They weren't alone. The commander froze. "Backup incoming." "No," she replied. "Revenge." Because men don't fear the death of soldiers, but they panic when someone kills their commanding officers with surgical precision. And tonight, Raven didn't just want to fight, she shattered an enemy hierarchy. The commander swallowed, not from fear of the enemy, but because he realized something undeniable. This woman wasn't just rescuing them. They were now part of her mission. Suddenly, distant engines echoed across the terrain. Armored trucks. Maybe 12. Maybe 15. Headlights off. Formation tight. Enemy reinforcements. She didn't panic. She didn't even flinch. She simply crouched, unpacked a secondary hardcase device from her pack. A small matte black drone with no markings and no visible control unit. It hummed to life with a ghostly, quiet vibration, hovering beside her shoulder like a loyal predator trained to obey only her. Then she tapped her wrist device once, and the drone shot in the night sky without noise, climbing higher than any battlefield drone the SEALs had ever seen deployed manually. The live feed synced to her contact lens, technology far beyond standard operational use. The commander said quietly, "Who built that tech for you?" She didn't look at him. "I did. No brag. No pride. Just fact." The drone tracked enemy shapes, 53 boots on the ground, full tactical gear, high-grade encrypted radios, and formation movement indicating they weren't just soldiers. They were hunters, elite, trained for recovery and retaliation. The SEALs readied weapons, adrenaline kicking back in, but Raven raised a hand. Not loud, but absolute. "Do not engage." Then she reached for her gear, pulling out a folded, custom-built ballistic sheet. Thin as paper, flexible, and the size of a notebook. With a flick of her wrist, it activated, expanding into a compact, portable targeting system. Coordinates aligned. Wind patterns mapped. Elevation data calculated. It wasn't just technology, it was a portable war plan. She placed her sniper rifle on the stabilized mount, adjusted the thermal optics, and whispered, not to anyone, but to the battlefield itself, they should have stayed home. What followed wasn't chaos, it was choreography. She fired 3 rounds before the enemy even realized sniping resumed. 3 headshots, 3 bodies down. The formation shifted. Some ducked, some spread apart, some started covering angles. But none of it mattered. She fired again, and again, and again. Every time they moved, she was already ahead of their decisions. It was like she could read their intentions before they even formed them. The SEALs watched the battlefield through their scopes, seeing the enemy fall faster than any trained team could calculate. At 1,300 meters, she switched to subsonic rounds. At 1,900 meters, she switched to high-velocity, tungsten-tipped penetrators, shredding armor plates like they were cardboard. At 2,500 meters, she switched to anti-material ammunition designed to pierce helmets, skulls, and bone with surgical, horrifying ease. She didn't talk. She didn't celebrate. She didn't miss. The commander finally whispered the truth none of them wanted to verbalize aloud. She isn't just a sniper. She's the war. By the time the last reinforcements fell, only silence remained. Heavy, eerie, absolute silence. And for a moment, even the night felt afraid of her. The SEALs started toward her, but she raised a hand, not to stop them, but because she heard something they didn't. A heartbeat, a rhythm, a survivor. She turned slowly, body shifting into a defensive angle. Not rushed, not tense, but ready. A shadow limped toward them from the ridge, dropping his rifle, raising his empty hands. He wasn't a soldier. He was a frightened communications tech, barely older than 20. His voice trembled as he spoke in broken English. Please, don't shoot. I surrender. Raven walked toward him. Not with aggression, not with mercy, but with the quiet intensity of someone who understood that war wasn't about rage. It was about decisions. The boy, because he was still a boy, despite the uniform, fell to his knees, crying, shaking, begging. And she kneeled down in front of him, not lowering her guard, but lowering her height so he didn't die feeling small. She looked him in the eyes and said 4 words that carried the weight of every soldier, every survivor, every battlefield memory carved into her bones. Go home. Stay human. The boy nodded, sobbing, stumbling backward before running into the night. Alive because she let him be. The SEALs didn't question her choice, because in that moment, they understood something deeper than tactics or training. Anyone can kill, but only someone truly powerful chooses when not to.